Hello, so welcome to the second assignment for World Studies, the summer session. And in this assignment, you're going to be using kind of the knowledge you hopefully built up with your map assignment to now kind of not just look at the world for where places are, but start looking at the stories of some of the people in those places, and specifically people in those places, somewhat similar to what we hear in the news here, that are fleeing from their home countries. So we often hear about this, and if we had a full year of kind of learning, we'd be maybe looking at kind of issues of people from Central America fleeing the United States, and that's a common and constant story and happening to a lot of people here. But we're not the only kind of region of the world or the only country of the world seeing this influx of people coming here for refuge. It's actually happening all over the world, and actually in a much larger scale than other parts of the world, specifically African and Asian refugees. So refugees from the continent of Africa, refugees from the continent of Asia, the Middle East specifically region, trying to get into Europe. And that's what you guys are going to be looking at and mapping and writing about for this assignment. So what I want to do right now is show you guys some of the pieces of this assignment, and those kind of start with here. So you're going to be looking at, not my picture, of course, but you're going to be looking at, again, World Studies 2, Refugee Stories mapping. Okay, back up, thank you. Mapping a crisis. And sorry for the delay there, but so these same directions are on your Canvas as well as Google Classroom posting, and they give you directions on what you're going to be doing. I'm going to kind of walk you through them right now and just give you guys a visual so you can see what you will be doing before you jump into it or dive into it on your own. So the first thing, and what we're looking at right now, is the Google slide presentation, and this is to help you build background knowledge on this refugee crisis, and specifically knowledge that you will be able to use not only to better understand what you're going to be reading about, but also better understand what you're going to be writing about for the part of this assignment you'll be submitting. So these slides here, several of them have information and videos to go with that information to help explain kind of what's happening in other parts of the world and what people are facing in those parts of the world. This one kind of looks at Africa, and it's a kind of a good introduction to the assignment. And there's questions there. Again, if we were doing kind of more traditional learning, you'd be, maybe discussing those with a partner. But without that right now, you could be maybe discussing with a family member. Like I could be discussing it with my daughter, or, if we were watching it together. Some other questions there. And again, if there's nobody for you to discuss it with, maybe just think about, reflect on it yourself, because kind of asking ourselves questions is really a key part of learning. A few more videos with information on that. Specifically, this one is like terminology. We sometimes look at the terms refugee, immigrant, migrant, asylee, and kind of look at them as being interchangeable. You could be one of a few, but really they are different specific groups. They may be doing something similar, leaving their home countries or fleeing their home countries in some cases, but there's a big difference between what that leaving and fleeing looks like. Kind of a quick example, for myself, like, my family, immigrated here about a century ago from Italy, and they left for financial reasons, economic reasons, specifically, having my great-great-grandfather lose some land that they had relied on for their income, and having to come here. And once arriving here, what made them immigrants and not migrants is they immediately rooted themselves here, especially. My daughter can turn around and show you really quick. When they saw that they could grow a lot of the same agricultural, especially the trees, that they grew back in their home country and do really well for themselves here. So after working on other people's land for a lot of years, they were able to finally buy their own land and start their own orchards. All right, so understanding the difference between those different groups is a kind of key thing. So I would suggest going through and reading the key terms here. Some of you that had this class before, you might even have the notes from this, but if you don't, I'd read through them. I'd suggest taking notes, just because sometimes writing them down on something does help you better understand them, but you'll always have this page to refer to just so you can make sure you know what these terms are. a little bit more kind of information on what makes, and I like this one a little bit better just because it has the 3 immigrant, refugee, asylees. So, okay. Then again, more questions for you to reflect on, and then some informational slides. And these informational slides really would be best dived into if you went to the website where they come from. And the website is listed here. This you could spend hours on and really get really detailed information about where people, kind of the refugee crisis the world is seeing. If you want to dive into it and spend a few hours on it, you're more than welcome. If you want to just go to it, maybe answer a few questions, this is the link. It's right there on your Google slide presentation. Okay. All right. Then we're going to get into the main, we'll say the main part of the learning here. Europe or Die. And Europe or Die is a video series that was put out a few years ago detailing kind of the refugee crisis in Europe. I'd say before getting into the videos, I would take a look at these 6 questions. And each question has a slide with information answering it, as well as an image you can see. And that, again, would be really good background knowledge to build up before getting into, the videos. The videos will start right after these videos. I know a lot of videos here, but this kind of gets into the issue of like xenophobia, fear of outsiders. And we often hear about xenophobia in the United States, and it is present here, unfortunately. But it's also present in other parts of the world. Europe is no exception to that. And some of the xenophobic reactions to refugees and immigrants trying to, come into Europe, you can see on display in these videos. Where you'll really see them though, and I'd say take notes, but again, I'm not going to be collecting those, are in these. And these are 4 15 to 20 minute videos. So kind of a lot of viewing here, but 4 videos that I think detail what's going on, with kind of, again, Asian and African refugees trying to flee into Europe better than any other video series I've seen. If this was like in the old days when I was your guys' age and the evening news, because we didn't have the internet, they would probably have a quick, information thing saying, hey, make sure audiences, you're aware there's some frightening images, shocking images in these, and these do fit in that category. So be aware of that as you guys look at them. But 4 videos there, each detailing, or 5 videos, sorry, each detailing kind of what's going on in Europe. There's some questions to consider after. If you want to watch just a quick summary of all of them, John Green, real famous kind of youth, young adult author. I think you probably read some of his books or seen movies based on his books. He does a really good video series on YouTube. He goes through the refugee crisis in a quick summary. But then you can get into the assignment and some directions for that assignment. I'll just take you guys to those assignment pages now. So what you guys are going to be doing is a few things, but I'd say first you'll start with the reading, and the directions are the same there. The reading has 3 sections to it, 32 pages, so a lot of pages, but 3 sections. And what you are asked to do specifically for this assignment is read about 1 refugee per section. And there's section A, section B, section C. Read about 1 in section A, 1 in section B, 1 in section C. You're also more than welcome to read about every single refugee in here, which probably is definitely going to fit with the 3 to 4 hours of time you're supposed to be working on World Studies assignments. And I'd say if you read about each one of them, you'll develop even more knowledge and then be able to better pick ones that you could write about for the part of the assignment you'll be submitting. But at the very least, read about 1 per each section. And there's a bunch of different ones there to choose from, a bunch of different parts of the world being affected. Okay, after you've done that, and you picked 3 of those refugees, so 1 from section A, 1 from section B, 1 from section C, you can jump into the assignments. They're going to ask for you to map 1 refugee's journey. And this has 2 options for maps. If you want to print out a map and just do it by hand and then submit a photo, you're more than welcome. You can also, if you're more technologically savvy, you can submit a Google map. And Google Map allows for you to kind of pinpoint locations and also fill in information about what happened in those various locations. And I have an example there for you with the migration of my great-grandfather from Italy. It's great. My great-great-grandfather was here already. He'd worked on the Panama Canal, but we know a little bit less about his journey since he came as an illegal immigrant. Okay, after you guys finish that mapping assignment, you'll have paragraphs to write, and the paragraphs ask you to specifically answer in your paragraph, and you're going to write 3 paragraphs, one for each refugee from each section. Answer these questions. That should get you more than 4 sentences. If you need sentence frames to help you write those sentences, they're there. And then you write your paragraphs. Okay. So that is the assignment. I'd say a lot of work, but really if we had a week to work on this or 2 weeks to work on this in the classroom, that's what we'd be spending on it, which perfectly fits with 3 days of summer school. So if you guys take, probably 3 to 4 hours per day between now and Friday, you should be able to get this assignment done. If you have any questions on it at any time, feel free to email me. There will also be a Google Meetup on Thursday from 11 a.m. to noon, in which I'll kind of also go over any questions you may have at that time. You don't have to attend that, but again, if you need face-to-face communication to answer your question, you're more than welcome to attend. If you can just get by with an email, which I'd say works probably best, be sure to send me an email if you have any questions or concerns on this assignment between now and Friday. But all of this will be due on Friday, July 10th. All right, thank you for your time, and good luck with the assignment.